Allergy medication.
There are two of us that have inhalers.
Alright, you ready?
Oh, you're just gonna walk away and give up. You can get that. That's yours. Nobody else. Get in there and give it some heat. Give it some heat.
That's not legal.
My name is Sam Atagna, and I believe, just like in this video, that people give up way too early in life. And I think it's because we jump into things just a little bit too early. One of the things that I think that we jump into early is relationships. So for the next couple minutes, I'm going to cheer for you guys and talk about these relationships. My question for you guys is, if we're willing to go out and find a job, the perfect job, get that job, and then when we end up hating the job in the future, we're willing to give them 2 weeks notice, why are we not willing to do the same thing for somebody that we supposedly care about? Right? Alright, so we go out and we find a job. Good.
Mr. Goodman?
What makes you think you're qualified for this job?
They all leave.
I believe that when we find that job that we like, that we want, that sometimes we're willing to go a little bit too far, a little bit too early. I found this quote online that said, sex is not the answer. Sex is the question. Yes is the answer. Right? A bit ill-contrived quote, but I believe that we jump into sex a little bit too early. Sometimes. At times. I'm not one that necessarily believes in abstinence, but I do think that you have to be careful who you give it up to and when you give it up to them. Does anybody feel like they might have given up sex too early to somebody?
Not at all.
No. Relationship coach Melissa Darnay, whenever she talks to her female clients, she tells them that sex changes everything in a relationship. Absolutely everything in a relationship. She says that when you get done having sex for the first time, the girl's probably thinking, oh, we're in a relationship now. And the guy's probably thinking, that was fun. So she says that you have to be careful when you give it up. She suggests to wait until somebody says, I love you. And while 2 weeks isn't necessarily a definitive rule, it might be a good place to start. Right? So, speaking of fun, let's talk about STDs. CDC says that every year there are 19 million new cases of STDs in the United States of America. Right? I was going to look at pictures and stuff. I started doing that and I stopped doing it very quickly. So I'm sure that you guys have seen the pictures of STDs and they're gross. Let's say you don't get an STD, right?
And child abuse now happens.
Use condoms, that's right. Like I said, sometimes I think we give up sex a little bit too early. And nobody wants that to happen, or to go to jail for what you said, child abuse. Sweet Lord. Tommy John again is a comedian. He talks about how his sister got pregnant, and then she's like, oh, I have to get married now. I'm pregnant. And he's like, no, you don't. I have to do that. That's bad logic. It's like saying, things are really bad right now. Quick, let's make it worse. And then he talks about, he's like, spilled juice on the carpet in my house the other day and burned down the house. It's just bad. Bad thought process. I think that sometimes sex, if it goes in a certain direction, like a screaming child, sometimes it ushers you into a relationship that you're not necessarily ready for, right? DC Talk talks about love, Christian band DC Talk, and they say love is a verb, an action that you do, not a feeling that you feel. I kind of have the same thought process, and I think that before you put yourself in any kind of relationship, Groucho Marx says that love is temporary insanity that can be cured by marriage. I'm not necessarily talking about just marriage here, just any relationship, any kind of commitment. Make sure that you're ready to love and do the action of love of what you're feeling now in the future before you put yourself in any kind of commitment. So, we find the job that we want, right? Or the relationship that we want. And we like it, and things start to go bad. We start to fight a lot. This and that, Playing Words with Friends again. If you just give up right away, there's a chance that you'll regret it later. Right?
Sorry, we're just not working out.
I guess I'll go.
Chess! You have my Doritos!
So, had that ended and he had actually been chasing after her, it would have proved my point a little bit better than what it did. But there are times, you give up a little bit too early and you regret it later. You chase the person down for more than just potato chips. Martin Luther King Jr. talks about getting your own house in order. So basically what that means is looking at yourself before you start trying to fix somebody else. In relationships, I think that's a lot of the problem. I think a lot of times people try to blame somebody else rather than looking at themselves. So if you start to have problems in a relationship, I suggest looking at yourself first, give yourself time to adjust, and then address issues with the other person. When you address those issues with the other person, give them time to adjust as well. Also give them a chance to tell them what their issues are with you. Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. Anybody heard of it? Yes. In the book, he talks about how just because I think love is displayed in a certain way doesn't mean that you think love is displayed in a certain way, right? I may want flowers or presents and gifts and chocolate and such, but Ben may just want me to do the dishes, and that's how he's shown love. So you have to be willing to get to know the person that you're with. Not just get to know their personality, what their favorite color is, what their favorite flower is, but get to know who they are and how they want to be loved.
It's so beautiful.
Fulton Sheen, sweet Lord. Fulton Sheen says that patience is power. Patience is not the absence of action. Rather, it's timing, finding the right time for the right reasons, right? So based off that quote, I'm going to leave you with these challenges. I challenge you to be patient and to wait, and while you're waiting, I challenge you to learn to love yourself for who you are. I also challenge you to be patient and wait for the right person at the right time to love them for the right reasons. And I challenge you that when things go bad, and you start to fight a whole lot, I challenge you to give the same respect, afford the same respect to love that you would afford to a job that you hate. And it's just 2 weeks. That's it. Oh, you guys clapped this time.
Yay!
See, they clapped.
Yes, ma'am.
Amazing!
Let's do it again.
Do it again!